Wow, what a season thus far, am I right? We're not even a month in, and during the past week or so, we've had one of the biggest trades on the books in I don't even know how long. And longtime Pittsburgh Penguins GM Jim Rutherford resigns. Seriously though, doesn't this stuff usually happen in the offseason, or is it just me? Anyways, in response to all the excitement, I decided to try and dissect some of this huge news and give you all my thoughts, for, who actually cares? So, let's unbox this, shall we? First order of business is breaking down this huge blockbuster deal that graced social media last weekend. For those of us hockey fans that don't live under rocks, we all pretty much knew that Luc-Dubois wasn't very happy in Ohio's capital. You had Tortorella speaking out about it, Dubois not denying the fact when questioned, so there was tons of speculation and expectance that this unhappy camper would be suiting up for a new team as soon as the Jackets could arrange it. And yeah, I know they didn't technically have to lift a finger and could have kept Dubois in what seemed like to him his own personal torture chamber for a lot longer, but I mean, if you saw what's become known as the shift, did he really give them much of a choice? Then you had Patrick Laine in Winnipeg, who wasn't as vocal about wanting out. Instead, let his agent do most of the talking for him, as Laine's agent made a public statement that a trade would be beneficial for both parties involved. And while I have been critical of Laine at times myself for his style of game, I've got to hand it to the guy because he really did a lot better about keeping his composure towards the end, and even dropped the gloves in rare fashion earlier this season. So while he wasn't denying that he wanted out on the spot, he wasn't trying to make his, teammates and organization purposefully look like while playing like his skates were tied together out there. And just like that, there were two disgruntled players that needed a fresh start. Actually, there were three, counting Jets center and Ohio native Jack Roslovic. So it's interesting, really to me anyways, how this all went down, because Dubois and Laine were drafted together in 2016, literally second and third. Both young players, plus Dubois had just signed an extension with Columbus, and then decided he wanted out. Definitely not a situation you see every day, regardless. Anyways, Laine and Roslovic go to Columbus and Dubois go to Winnipeg. Both destinations ideally make sense, it's convenient, and just an easy solution to get these teams out of the media spotlight. As I'm sure you're all wondering who really will be winning this deal, I think at first it'll be Columbus, as Laine should be able to play first, as US regulations aren't as strict yet, coming in with quarantine. But I think long term, Laine only has a season left on his deal, so it's really going to depend on how him and Tortorella hit it off and how much CBJ really wants to keep their long-term coach. As we all know, Columbus hasn't had the best track record when it comes to keeping their star players. Sure, Rick Nash went before the Torts era began, but even more recently we saw a rift with Sergei Bobrovsky developed shortly before the season ended with the head coach, and then they lost him and Artemi Panarin to free agency. So it's really going to be interesting to see if Tortorella will be able to kind of bend a little and cater to a star player, even though he's already said that he's not going to treat him any different. That makes me say probably no, but I guess we'll see. I guess you can be hopeful. So yeah, if Laine signs with CBJ and things go well, you've got him and a hometown boy for a center role, and so I think ideally the winner will be Columbus. They needed a scorer and they needed a star player, so I guess Laine is the real answer. But on the other side, you've got a really valuable two-way center in Dubois, who is a very unique player, as in he's a bigger player with a high skill set. He's physical, yet he has an excellent shot and isn't afraid to play an in-your-face game that the Jackets are all so well known for. The Jets needed down the middle depth. Now they have a valuable 1-2 punch with Scheifele and then Dubois at center. And some who don't know may be skeptical and think, well, why the heck would Dubois end up going from one smaller city to another and seem to embrace it? Well, his dad, who has had a pretty big hand in his son's career thus far, is an assistant coach for the Jets' AHL affiliate, the Manitoba Moose. So while it's not exactly the Quebec homecoming that some pictured, it kind of still is like he's coming home in a way, I guess. Anyways, it's really too soon to know how this deal is going to pan out for the various reasons that I mentioned, but it's definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on it for sure. Well, for me, waking up to this news was pretty much, as a Penguins fan, I'm not gonna lie, it was nice. No, this isn't me trying to disrespect Rutherford and the lasting legacy that he left behind, because, I mean, he's a big part as to why the Penguins won those back-to-back cups. But over the past few seasons, I guess more specifically, ever since Jack Johnson was signed, Rutherford was a man who was torturing the Penguins fan base. I mean, it kind of played out a little like his tenure with Carolina did, to be honest, as he did some amazing retooling to the roster and pulled off a cup win in 2006. And then, well, I guess he did some real damage to the club shortly before his exit. At least that's what seems to be the overwhelming consensus that I hear, more specifically from Canes fans. Anyways, as much brilliance as he displayed towards the beginning in the Steel City, JR displayed later what I like to refer to as anti-first rounder syndrome, as in this guy would and could not just keep a damn first round pick to save his life. And well, the one that he did keep, he sent him away only to trade for him again. And while Kessel was a major part in those cup runs, I'm just saying, as a fan who knows that the window is closing and a rebuild is inevitable, no matter how much we want to deny it, we desperately need to start investing more into our thin at best prospect pool. For me, there was that issue, the whole other syndrome, as in, let's find each and every player that's down on their luck and give them a massive contract in hopes that they'll maybe, just maybe, all of a sudden not play like, yeah. So Johnson, Matheson, Ceci, all signings that just made no literal sense to me. And honestly, if JR had learned from the Johnson signing and buyout and realized that optimism is great to have, but too much of it isn't, well, you know, the Penguins would be in much better shape. Regardless, Rutherford did say that he was stepping down for personal reasons, but then said that it was not for health reasons, and that he's completely physically okay.
There's nothing wrong with Jim Rutherford's health, I can tell you that. Judging from the minutes on his cell phone, and all the deals he's constantly trying to make, and the 5-mile walks he's on every day when I do talk to him, he's perfectly healthy. Now,
maybe to me this wouldn't be as suspect if he had just waited until the end of his contract was up, which, I mean, will expire this summer. But I don't know, it just seems really like an odd time at the beginning of the season to just say, hey, I'm done because I don't feel like doing this job anymore. Not saying that we should scrutinize the guy or give him a hard time for walking away. I mean, not at all. I mean, it just seems like a really weird time just to, you know, resign. I'm really thinking that maybe he wore out his welcome and maybe wanted to execute like a typical JR deal, and, you know, one of the owners, possibly Mario Lemieux, gave him the option to go out with dignity or, you know, be fired. Because, I mean, when your time is up and you're ready to retire, you just don't say, well, you know, I might be back here in a few months with a new team. Yeah, that's a possibility. Like, yeah, Rutherford is older, and I could see it being completely innocent if he was actually retiring, but to me, it just seems like an awkward situation entirely.
We really thank you for your support. This team is really like Pittsburgh. You know, we had a very talented team, a lot of character, and a hard-working team. And it's really what you people are all about and what you people are like, and we can relate to that. But I want to congratulate the guys. What a great group of guys. They got the job done. We always believed we could, even when things were a little tough during the season. It's a great lesson for everybody here. Keep believing in whatever you do. If you keep believing, you can get it done.